On the 7th of November 1867, in the city of Warsaw, Poland, a poor couple, who were well known for their teaching profession, had their fifth child, Maria Sklodowska. From an early age she was remarkable for her profound memory, having won a medal on completion of her secondary education at the Russian Lycée at the age of 16. She then had to start her own teaching career as her mother passed away and her father lost his savings at a bad investment. Because of her poor status, she was unable to attain higher education and soon took a post as governess at the age of 18. With all her hard work she was able to save enough money to financially support her sister, Bronislava, to pursue her medical studies. All this while she continued to read and study in whatever free time she could have. Her passion and thirst for knowledge never died. She also joined the nationalist Free University secretively where she read to women workers in Polish. In 1891, Maria Sklodowska finally got her chance to travel France by the help of her sister. She soon adopted the French version of her name, Marie, and started attending lectures at Sorbonne University in Paris. She had a great love for physics and mathematics and followed the lectures given by some of the most renowned mathematicians and physicists, which included Paul Appel, Gabriel Lippmann, and Edmond Baudy and Jean Perrin, Charles Moraine, and Aimé Cotton. Staying true to her dedication, she burned the midnight oil and practically lived on bread, butter and tea. She secured the first position in the license of physical sciences in 1893. She then began to work in Lippmann's laboratory and soon achieved the second place in the license of mathematical sciences in 1894. Following the spring of that same year she met her future husband, Pierre Curie. Marie and Pierre got married on the 25th of July 1895 and together they worked long enough to discover polonium and radium. In 1896, Henri Becquerel discovered a new phenomenon which involved invisible rays emitting from uranium. Marie started working on this phenomenon on a mineral known as pitchblende. Pitchblende is a mineral from which uranium is extracted for industrial use. Marie Curie observed that the raw material of pitchblende emitted more radiation than uranium alone. Marie Curie and her husband started experimenting on the waste products of pitchblende and, eventually, in 1898, she was successful in extracting a new element which was 330 times more radioactive than uranium. This element was named polonium in honor of her birth country Poland and it had an atomic number of 84. Marie Curie described the element as radioactive, which further simplified the Becquerel's phenomenon. Upon further investigation it was discovered that waste material left behind even after extracting polonium was still emitting radioactive rays. Marie Curie was convinced that there was yet another element hidden in plain sight and in 1898 she presented clear evidence that there were strong radiations being emitted from the liquid left behind but there was no sample. Extracting trace amount of this element from the liquid seemed impossible and buying more pitchblende was too expensive. However, she eventually got in contact with a factory in Austria and bought all the uranium waste which was indeed cheap. Now she had enough to extract this other element. By the end of the year 1898, Marie Curie with help of her student chemist André Louis de Beerne, she finally discovered radium. In the year 1903, Marie Curie along with her husband, Pierre Curie won a Nobel Prize on physics which they shared it with Henri Becquerel for working on radioactivity. That same year she also received Doctorate of Science and with Pierre received the award of Duval Medal of Royal Society. The birth of her two daughters, Irene and Eve, did not stop her from continuing her passion. Back in 1900, she was appointed lecturer in physics at the École Normale Supérieure for Girls in Sèvres, where she introduced their method of teaching based on experimental demonstrations. In 1904, she was appointed chief executive in the laboratory which was directed by Pierre Curie. In May 13, 1906, she was appointed the professorship left vacant for her after the demise of her husband in April of that year. She became the first woman ever to teach at Sorbonne University. By 1908, she became the nominal professor and by 1910, she published her fundamental essay on radioactivity. In 1911, she received her second Nobel Prize and this time on chemistry for isolation of radium. In 1914 she witnessed the completion of laboratories of Institute of Radium at the University of Paris. All through the World War she devoted herself in the development of X-rays with the help of her daughter Irene. In 1914, the first machine called Petite Curie's was ready. She took her machine along with her daughter to the front line and helped the wounded men to locate fractures, bullets and shrapnel. In 1918, the Radium Institute became the Universal Center for Nuclear Physics and Chemistry. In 1932, the inauguration of the Radium Institute in Warsaw took place, of which her sister, Bronislawa, became the director. One of the formidable achievements of Marie Curie was the understanding of the accumulation of the radioactive elements not only for medical purposes but also for abundant supply for further research of nuclear physics. Her daughter, Irene Julio Curie, along with her husband Frédéric Joliot, expanded their research and discovered artificial radioactivity in 1934. After this discovery, Marie Curie died of aplastic anemia, mostly likely caused by prolonged presence of radiation throughout her life. Marie Curie and her husband, Pierre Curie, were buried twice. Initially they were buried in a cemetery in Sceaux, but then in 1995 they were reinterred in France's National Mausoleum, the Pantheon, in Paris. Her office and laboratory in the Curie Pavilion of the Radium Institute are preserved as the Curie Museum.